Hello, everybody. My name is Jose Navarro Betancourt, and I am the Scientific Director at quadraScope Ventures. The following is a tutorial on mitochondrial dysfunction. I will begin by explaining what mitochondria do in addition to producing energy, and why mitochondrial dysfunction is a key hallmark of aging. Next, I will highlight three different types of therapies for mitochondrial dysfunction. Approach number one is the first FDA-approved treatment for a mitochondrial disease. Second, I will cover the approach our portfolio company, Vincere Biosciences, is developing to treat Parkinson's disease and other age-related diseases. We have a way to help cells clear damaged mitochondria selectively. Finally, I will discuss mitochondrial transplantation and mention a few key players in the space. So mitochondrial dysfunction is a key hallmark of aging. You may actually need to fix mitochondria before addressing the other hallmarks of aging. So why are mitochondria so important? Mitochondria are literally the most effective way that cells have to produce energy. Mitochondria are actually very dynamic organelles. They can fuse and they can divide among themselves, and they can also physically interact with other organelles. So perhaps a better way to understand mitochondria are as signaling hubs. These signaling hubs coordinate energy production with other processes relevant for the cell. The essence is that all the hallmarks of aging are interconnected with each other. But some researchers argue that some hallmarks are more fundamental than others. And in the case of mitochondria, there is an argument to be made that if the cells don't have the right amount, the right capacity to produce energy, other interventions might fail. So in that sense, it might be ideal to fix mitochondrial dysfunction as the first hallmark of aging. More recently, there has been a very big catalyst for the whole mitochondrial field or the mitochondrial therapeutics field. The FDA granted accelerated approval to Forcinity, which is a drug by Stealth Biotherapeutics. So Forcinity is the first FDA-approved treatment that directly targets mitochondrial dysfunction. And this is also the first disease-modifying therapy for Barth syndrome, which is a mitochondrial disease. So this is a big deal because it will pave the way for other mitochondrial targeted therapies to enter the market. We have a precedent of a drug that is addressing mitochondrial dysfunction directly, and a precedent of the regulatory pathway to push it into the market. And maybe it's worth talking about the readouts that Stealth Biotherapeutics used to push Forcinity. They actually got accelerated approval based on a functional biomarker. In this case, the muscle function, and they specifically measured the knee extensor muscle strength, so basically the thigh. And based on this readout, they were able to convince the FDA that this drug could be potentially disease modifying and produce a clinical benefit to patients. Vincere is helping cells get rid of damaged mitochondria, clear damaged mitochondria via mitophagy or selective autophagy of mitochondria. They identified an enzyme that is actually responsible of controlling how mitochondria get degraded or get tagged for degradation. And they created this inhibitor of this enzyme, and this inhibitor is a small molecule. It's a pill that you can take by mouth and then crosses into the brain and inhibits this enzyme USP30. They have promising preclinical results in animals, and they are actually advancing IND-enabling studies, completing all the preclinical safety work necessary to reach the clinic. And so far, it looks really encouraging. A couple of companies have actually developed comparable treatments and have had actually successful exits. One of them is MitoBridge. MitoBridge was also had the idea of developing USP30 inhibitors, and it was acquired by Astellas in 2017 for around $160 million. So there's interest in this mechanism. And then more recently, mitokinin. They also had a treatment that stimulates the degradation of damaged mitochondria through mitophagy, and they were acquired by AbbVie in a deal worth over $600 million in total. So mitochondrial transplantation is a modality that is emerging, and we're really excited about it. And as the name indicates, mitochondrial transplant is taking healthy mitochondria from one source. It can be your own mitochondria, or it can be from a healthy donor. And this is really exciting because it turns out that actually in cells inside the body, they normally transfer mitochondria from one another. This is a process that happens even in healthy cells. Now, there are companies that are actually taking this science into the clinic, and in early stage clinical trials. We a few companies that are worth keeping in mind. Minovia, they have a procedure to enrich cells with healthy mitochondria, and they are using it to treat congenital mitochondrial diseases like Pearson syndrome, and to treat myelodysplastic syndrome, which is another disease of the blood. You have Pian. Pian is a company in Korea, and they are treating inflammatory diseases of like polymyositis or dermatomyositis with healthy mitochondria. You have Selby, Luca, Matrix, Cellergy. These companies are looking at mitochondrial transplantation. And a few important groups in academic work are the Boston Children's Hospital. They have treated newborn babies with heart failure with mitochondrial transplantation by directly administering the mitochondria into the heart. You have the Wake Forest Institute. They have a clinical trial where they use mitochondrial transplantation to treat a stroke. And then you have another technology that was developed at Newcastle University, which consists in mitochondrial transplant in fertilized eggs. And you may have heard this in the news as a 3-parent baby, where you have a couple that has a high risk of having a kid with a congenital mitochondrial disease due to mutations in DNA or deletions in mitochondrial DNA. And you basically give the baby the mitochondria from another mother. If you'd like to learn more about quadraScope and our portfolio companies, visit us at quadrascope.com. Thank you for listening.